You don't want to miss it. what's up?
Hey, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Politically correct.
Politically correct. Politically, we're safe. We're all the.
We're here.
We're actually about 10 feet apart from each other. This is a trick of the camera.
Bubble
that
lens,
we're doing.
the reverse.
It's the bubble lens. Friends, Ford Thurston in the house. If you guys don't know who he is, you will by the end of this program because he is a beast of a player.
Thank you.
And a super swell guy, and I'm so excited that he's here, and I'm sorry it's so freaking
And we're neighbors
hot
and just kind of like
I
getting to know each other.
I know,
What's
dude.
up with that?
I know. I love it. I freaking love it. It's hot in here. Jeez.
It
I'm
is.
sorry. Friends, did you know we're doing this for 2 hours? Ford doesn't know a lot. I hadn't told him a lot.
I'm
about
just
it. I said,
fine.
dude, just show up.
I was hired for 30 hours.
Well, you get 4 times the pay today.
It's all right. We're gonna be like half. We'll be real skinny by the time we
Yeah, and it goes pretty quick. So we're soloing. We're talking about how to solo. We're talking about how to phrase today, friends. We couldn't be in better company with Ford. I'm gonna interview you a little bit. I'm springing that on you too. But I'd like to ask you some questions. The kids are gonna ask you some questions, and I really want to get inside of your head when it comes to soloing because you have such a beautiful way of phrasing.
Thank you.
And we've been talking about this for weeks now because folks are always like, I know these scales, but I just don't know how to make them sing. So I'm gonna tap into your brain here in just a minute. If that's all right.
Man. I just want to apologize now.
Yeah, no, there's good stuff. There's good stuff in there, man. Friends, if you have not already, go ahead and like this video. Several things to do. Like this video, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and if you haven't already, please share it to the interwebs with the kids. And we are going to, if we don't already, we have some of your social bits that we're going to be posting on the screen, Ford. Otherwise, you're going to look up Ford Thurston on Google. And what are you on Instagram?
It's actually Ford Thurston Music
Thurston.
Instagram. That's what that is, yeah.
Good.
Ford, like the car, Thurston, like Gilligan's Island.
That's a rock star name.
Ford
I know that's not the first time you've heard that. But
actually, I met one time on a first date with a girl that I dated years ago.
Yeah.
And the house that I lived in was owned by the band Rusted Root. Remember that band?
I don't know.
Send Me On My
No.
Way. It was like
Okay.
in Ice Age. They had that song in Ice
Right,
Age.
okay.
And we went back, and my apartment was being used as the green room for Funkadelic, for Parliament.
Nice.
Yeah, and George Clinton was there, and we
man.
walked in, and he's like, "Hey," and he goes, "What's your name?" I said, "Ford Thurston." He goes, "That's the coolest name I ever heard." So it was validated.
It's totally validated. Oh my
Of course,
God.
my
What a
apartment didn't
story.
smell the way that I.
It didn't smell the same.
It didn't
anymore,
smell the same, no.
No.
I don't know what that was.
Beautiful smell of flowers. Right?
Something was going on in there.
That's amazing. Well, let's do this, Ford. I want to let folks know kind of a little bit about why you're here, how you got to being a Nashville guitar player, both live and in the studio, and what have you. And then I want to and we're going to drill down even
Cool.
further. So can
Nice.
you give folks just kind of like how you got, I suppose like first, how did you come to music? Like what was the original thing that made you go, oh my God,
Yeah,
this
right.
is something that my soul is connecting to? And then how did you get started?
It's weird because for a long time I would like bob and weave on the truth of how it was, because during certain eras of time in your life, you don't think it's cool to let people know your true
Sure,
roots.
right,
I think
yeah.
that's part of becoming an adult.
Yes.
And as of late, I started realizing I don't really care to mask anything that's
Yeah.
the truth. But like, it's really weird. But like, I got the 45 of Sonny and Cher. I Got You, Babe.
Yeah.
And I heard that, and now looking back at it, I realized like how cool the changes are and stuff. It's really like Neil
100%,
Diamond
yeah.
kind of writing,
Yeah.
So I like that.
Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves is one of my favorite
it's the
songs. I
coolest.
swear to God.
I had it on 45. I still have it. The little bugles on it. It was, I think, an MCA recording or something, MCR maybe. But I got that, and then I got Jeff Beck Wired on vinyl, and I got Van Halen 1 and the first Boston record.
And how old were you?
I was, I was 7.
Okay.
So, and then some weird stuff slipped in there, you know what I mean? But I was listening to like Humble Pie and all that. But I would like sit at the end of my stereo, which was one of those long wood ones, in the early 80s or whatever, and I would lay and make a 10 at the end and just stack records,
Yeah.
with pennies on it because we were so poor that we couldn't keep the needle wouldn't stay on the record.
Right, yeah.
Just pile it with, quarters or whatever on there. And I would lay there and just listen to records, and then when the parents would leave the house, that's when I would start the air guitar would commence,
Yeah.
And I'd be on the couch, and the first Boston record with the 4-play thing, with a long time, and that would happen, and I became Tom Schultz,
Yeah.
But then when the Van Halen thing happened, it was like my tent turned into a spaceship.
Sure.
Because I didn't know what in the hell I was listening
What
to.
is
I
that
didn't know what it
coming out of
was.
the speakers, yeah.
And from there, and then Jeff Beck was like a really big influence. And as of late, like I would kind of like leave the Van Halen off because it's like moving to Nashville, thinking, oh, people know this kind of stuff. Maybe it'll hinder your hireability.
Yeah.
And I started realizing, man, you know, all of it's just notes and it's an inflection.
Yeah.
And all of it was part of my journey, which makes me a happy person as far as being able to hear things and play it. And sometimes I'll realize, oh my God, that's a melody from, you know, an old, you know, Sonny Bono thing or, you know, or whatever it came from.
Yeah.
So I just wear my influences now. I'm not afraid of them or I'm not embarrassed. But, you know, I like listening to old country music when I'd go to Texas in the early days to visit my father.
Yeah.
And honestly, like one guitar player I think that gets slighted a lot, not that I haven't listened to them since then.
Right.
But like Ace Frehley gets ripped on a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
He just does. But the truth of the matter is, he's like Angus Young. If you hear Ace Frehley play, you know it's him immediately. And I don't care that whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because if
sound.
your rock band can write Deuce, or you can write King of the Nighttime World, or any of those songs, let me know.
Yeah.
And give me your link, and I'll show you. Because it's really, there's no joke to it.
100%.
It was like a game plan.
Yeah.
The guitar player had his own identifiable sound. And it's not, even if, you know, that's what he did a lot, you know? But it's more than the notes. A lot of it is what do your fingers sound like?
Yeah.
Ace really played something, you know. To me, he's just as important as anyone else in the repertoire of guitar players that I grew up listening to. So I'm not ashamed of anything, and I just kind of like, it all becomes this part of your cauldron, and you mix all these ingredients in there, and hopefully you end up with something that kind of, you end up with your own sound.
Makes you uniquely you.
Yeah.
That no one else has that mixture.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if Ace Frehley's out there watching, just know
Yeah.
you know. But no, I mean, and then like listening to like Steely Dan along the way, lots of Stevie Ray Vaughan, and at that point, you know, I got.
When did you pick up the guitar for the first time?
I picked up my first guitar from a garage sale. It was a silver Global guitar. I think Global's probably made at Sears, and it had an Erector set. Which they put.
Hold on, the name of it was Global. Okay,
it's a real piece of crap. Like
sure, yeah.
Sears. I mean, it was like the lowest level thing. Like, and it didn't even have pickups in it. It was just a neck bolted on, and it had this little makeshift bridge. And under, like, let's say if you took this stud and you took the arm of an Erector set,
right,
and you put it under there, and you were like this, it was the whammy bar, you know.
Oh, wow.
And I got that, and within the first day, I was. It's kind of came to me kind of quickly.
Yeah.
And from there, I never looked back. And then I played that guitar for a little bit.
And you were how old?
I was 9.
Okay.
You know,
that's great.
Yeah, I was 9. And then my stepfather got me into like a cheaper Lotus Les Paul copy.
Yeah.
Which you know, I treated that badly because I thought it was crap, but it was a big step beyond what I had before.
Sure. Yeah.
Then got into like Area Pro 2, and then right after that, I started getting into like Kramer guitars and Gibsons.
Would you have a Beretta?
I did have a Beretta.
Bro,
I had the Beretta with the next.
Yes. That was my first big boy guitar.
That's
Beretta.
Bad stuff right there.
Guitar, yeah.
Really cool, yeah. But did that and wrote songs like quickly. Actually, like writing songs was the first thing that I really got into, which was like I think my mind kind of works in that way. Like I can like write songs quickly. Yeah. I think, and the funny thing is, whenever when I'm looking for like solos and stuff like that too, it all comes from the same place. It's just like I just play a chord and hear a melody. I think that one. So like that's like Tom Petty.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which we've talked about that before.
Yeah.
We talked about phrasing. It's like if you can't sing it, what are you trying to play?
It's
Like
pointless.
if you can't sing what it is that you would play, I mean that's the beginning of phrasing.
That's
right?
where
Just
your
like
ideas
talking.
fall short. Is if you forget that it's about the melody, you'll end up just playing licks. And when it comes to writing songs, when you're stumped for a song, it's because you're not realizing. Play a chord and then listen for the melody.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
And then when you can keep it simple, I think that's where like the guys, the Paul McCartneys of our day. By the way, I love the Beatles, but like when you think simple, some of the best players I've ever seen in my life, like there's a guy in Boston, Duke Levine. Okay, this guy is a beast, man. He's like he's like a Knopfler meets Holdsworth and all these guys in between. But when you go see him live, you realize he's not really doing much intricate, but the simplicity of his approach makes everything sound so great.
Yeah.
You know, and that's where he's coming from. He's hitting a chord tone and just playing a couple notes, just the right notes at the right time.
Yeah.
And it's nothing that complicated.
Right.
He's not overthinking it. You know?
I did not know that about you, that you were a songwriter, which is great, and I love that, because that gives you that sensibility of, now hold on a minute, because when you're you know, trying to drive a lyric home, oftentimes that melody has everything to do with that lyric.
Right.
Like if you listen to really good songwriters, if they say something that's forlorn or something, you know, near the end of that phrase, if that phrase is forlorn, the melody oftentimes will go down. Or if it's, you know, if it's let it go, whatever, something that's up, you know, I mean that melody should rise. And there's thought behind that. And if you're just wanking away, not that there's anything wrong with trying to figure out what your voice is and coming up with licks and what have you, but at some point here, the end result should be something that people remember.
I call it bookending. Like, it's a really simple approach. Like, let's say that we were in E or C sharp, like we were, and I'm thinking song melody first, right? So I go. There was my lick at the end. Back to melody. So I'm thinking melody, and at the end of my vocal phrase, and then
and it's not a coincidence that the vocalist isn't singing right there.
Sure,
It's like you're putting it right there, because that's
he sings, you shut up.
Yes.
When he's done singing, you play your lick.
Yeah.
And it's just keeping track of that. Just kind of like, you know, like the thing that I know I have a hard time with is like that my wife would often tell me is I talk over her a lot. It's because, you know, our brains are going a million miles per hour. But it's true.
I'm
it's
improvising.
Like, I'm improvising. But like the thing is, like, if you can just listen to what it is you're playing and then respond to it after, even if it was just like a breath, you know. And now it's your turn. Back to her. Then back to you. Now I'm responding back to her with her own language.
Yeah.
You know? Really, it's not rocket science. I can't say that the whole sixth thing, actually, I get a lot of mileage out of it.
What Ford's referring to there is the intervals of a sixth. So using your scales, we talked about the major scale.
Right.
And using those intervals of the sixth, which is actually a third flipped upside down.
It's crazy.
And it's the most resonant to the ear.
Yeah.
And I that's something we talked about the other day that I want to so many questions that I have for you. I want to delve into that.
Jack Nicholson.
Oh yeah, you may see.
I like that. Yeah, I've never heard that one before.
Oh, that you look like Jack Nicholson?
Yeah, I get that all the time.
So you mentioned, we were talking the other day, and you said, you know, when you go outside and you hear the birds sing, they're singing diatonic. You mentioned, you went down a rabbit hole there, which I love, because I say this to folks all the time, and it's nice to know that I'm not crazy, because I just know after 30-something years of analyzing songs and solos and everything else, I'm like, I don't play any modes, and I'm not. It's like it's either major or minor, 99.999% of the time, and so like, why wouldn't we do that? But can you riff on that a little bit about the whole diatonic thing, and what we're referring to diatonically is the major scale, do re mi fa sol la ti do.
That's what's going on in the universe. The sound of the universe is all diatonic. You know, you're not going to hear birds whistling jazz. You know? I'm not saying that you're not going to find that, you know, somewhere you hear some like odd tones, because I mean, I make music out of my dryer. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Bouncing shoes around in there, you can start hearing songs and stuff in there. But for the most part, I think it's just a good way of putting it for people that are starting out with music or looking for the home base way of thinking about things. Because let's be honest, like, you know, I've been playing for years and you have too, and it's like, it's still confusing because you always second guess yourself. Am I making the right decisions? So I think of it as diatonically, is your home base. And when you see that, it really is, you know?
Yeah.
It's just- that's your home base, right? And then now I'm putting a little bit of sauce inside there, right? Which are things I can show you, whatever. But for the most part, if you base it all off the major scale, mixed major scale with the pentatonic scale, overlapping them over top of each other, everything's in there.
Yeah.
It's all chromatic in there.
Yeah.
Every note works. Hear how that works?
Yeah, yeah.
Then back to the major. 6. And I can explain all that to you.
Yeah,
I'm really not doing. I have a couple little tricks that I do to do the whole outside jazzy kind of thing.
I was going to ask you about that. Yeah. So, I would love to know your thoughts on that because I see you hit a note that is within the scale, you know, that's permissible. But I'll see you like grab the note above it and slide down or slide up to it. So, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Like for instance, so we're playing in G, and I was mixing major scale with minor blues. And then some major blues too. It's actually mixing 3. So
hold on. If you're in the key of G, and you would use G major, and you would use what minor?
Well,
E minor?
I was just kind of going between. I was playing G minor, G major scale, G major scale. Let me show that to him. Okay. Second position of the E minor pentatonic scale. So the second position would be okay, and then I was kind of doing position 1 of G minor.
Right, yeah.
And that was a little G major scale.
Right.
And that was kind of thing what you were talking about. That's a pre-bend to the root of G.
Right.
So I'm going.
Yeah.
Do it there too.
Yeah.
G major scale, second position of E minor, and then the first position, G minor.
So I want to ask you about this because I know some people are like, okay, I'm out. I know that's what's happening.
I know. I gotta simplify. Man.
Well,
I gotta bring myself
because
in.
honestly, when I'm listening to it and I'm thinking about it, I know technically what you're doing, but for someone out there to just be able to pull it off right away, or even for me to pull that off right away, it's something that you have to practice.
It's while I'm doing it, I'm thinking, well, I'm going too far because I realize, like, you know, for me too, like if I go on YouTube to learn something and somebody throws that at me that quickly too, it'd be like, I want to say it kind of keeps you from being interested because it's like I want to get. I want to get what
dumb. Makes you feel
dumb.
dumb.
I want to know what you're talking about. So if I was saying anything out of all that right there, I would play the G major scale and look for melodies. Okay, and the pre-bend thing was probably the coolest thing.
Yeah,
because it sounds so. So let's just do that lick, right? Okay,
that's really
or. See how I'm going to different chord changes within the scale? Because this is your root, and you know, you're 3, you're 4, 5, okay? So let's just take that little lick. And then the one I showed you in the first. If I'm sitting down playing music, and then play the scale to the 4. Watch this. I'm just phrasing with it. Okay? To the 4, right? Or that chord that we all know, right? Then watch this. It's just music.
So you guys can hear this, and more than anything, that's the thing that you want to, even if like contextually, I think I'm saying that right, like basically how to apply it, even though that may escape you right now, really just use your ear and go, okay, well I can hear that it's resolving, and then really that's, at the end of the day, everything that's in between is stuff that you can learn and does take time.
Right.
Does take time to, but if you can understand that he's building some tension and then there's some sort of resolution. So let me ask you this: the first, could you go back and like when you first started soloing, what was like your first piece of information that you're like, oh, that's how you do it?
Sure.
And then how did that work?
I mean,
for you?
was
it the blues scale?
It was the blues scale.
Yeah, sure.
Right. Now, I'll tell you
Minor blues.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that I swear that, like we talked about this, a lot of people don't know how to play in major keys.
Yes.
It's crazy because they learn a minor scale.
Right.
And they can't break through to realize, okay, let's stay in G.
Yeah.
That if you're playing G, you're just going to think the E minor pentatonic.
Right.
There's your, okay?
Right.
Okay? And once I understood, I only knew how to use it originally over E minor.
Right, yeah.
But then somebody taught me. And I realized that E minor scale, once I learned the E minor scale with the E minor pentatonic together, it's the same scale as the G major scale.
Right, but what's the difference? What are you doing differently, right?
I'm starting on the 7 of the scale. Okay, so
okay. And you're resolving it differently too, right? So if you're playing E minor, because I know this escapes folks a lot of times. They're like, I can play fine, I can play the minor, but what about the G there?
A 6. I'm sorry, it's the 6. Well, I don't know why I said the 7.
Right,
it's a 6 minor. So E minor is a 6 minor of G. That's confusing too. I don't think we should go there.
I say that's in their heads already.
Okay,
they know that. They know relative major minor,
good.
so we talk about that a lot.
Good.
So remember, every major key has a related minor key. Every minor key has a related major. It just means
4
they
half
share
steps
the
down,
sets
same
notes.
scale.
Yeah, or
4
3, however you look at it. So if we're playing this E minor, do you start your phrases oftentimes on the E, or do you resolve them on the E?
I don't. I mean, you can, but that kind of to me works against the music. You know what I mean? And I think the way to get it, rather than be hard on yourself, it's really weird. Like you could start on the 5th. You could start on different notes. But like if I'm playing E, then going to the root. To me, they all work.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of. Okay, so now you can start on the root. A good gaggle to do. Bend to the G. Kind of David Gilmour.
Right. Which is a harmony of E. Yeah.
There's a good note. The minor 3rd of the E. E minor.
And are you also thinking arpeggios often?
Sometimes, yeah. I was just thinking. Outlining it. E, G to the B. Try it.
you're playing. Like most people, they'll be, I'm gonna sweep them
You're
or
sweeping,
something,
yeah.
which is a very, rocker metal type
Right.
of thing to do. But you can also do it, the way Ford's doing this here, where you're still outlining the chord. And an arpeggio, of course, is a chord played with broken notes. So you're just playing those notes separately. And when you do that, you can't hit a wrong note, and so you can throw your color notes, or
Right.
you can throw your little spice notes if you want in there.
Sure, yeah. Honestly,
make it cool.
God, man, I do it all the time. But I'll tell you that I think a good gaggle would be over any minor chord you play.
Yeah.
You were asking about arpeggio or the
Right,
thing.
yeah. Mhm.
Over that, think G major. Right. Or I could slow that down for them real quick. So
Yeah.
let's just go. Now, when you get to the second part, though, it's just going to be a G major 7 chord.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
I know I'm ahead of myself, but just watch this. Okay? Okay, right? So 17, 16, 15, 14. There's your happy chord, right? Just go. Now this part is the tricky part, the beginning of it. You're going to slide up. Actually, you can slide half step or a whole step. That works.
Now you resolve it pentatonically.
Yes. So, ready? Woody Woodpecker.
Yeah.
So play me an E minor chord. I just took that down, all the way down here, same position. Play it here too. Okay? Sliding up to 10.
Now, why would you use that instead of just an E minor? Because you're throwing in yet another note.
Yeah, because you're starting on the third of the E minor chord, which is
Yeah,
more interesting.
yeah.
Starting on. And I'm going. Now, you know this position, right? Okay?
Yeah.
So that's the fifth position, right?
Right.
Of the E minor pentatonic scale. Now, over top of it.
Now you
I
throw some
apologize.
chromatic stuff in there.
There's some
too, right?
chromatic stuff, and I couldn't help myself. But I'm following my ear. You know what I mean?
Right,
So
yeah.
it's kind of hard to shut that off at times.
Right.
But just this arpeggio alone, if anytime you're playing a D minor chord, think, okay? I played the same arpeggio, okay, but a whole step down according to the chord. If it's D minor, think F major 7 arpeggio. If you're playing E minor, G. D, F. Just a great starting point for soloing and stuff like that. So you could think G major over E minor. If you're playing D,
Now, if you were
think
playing
F
G
major.
major, would you do the same G major, or would you try?
Well,
would you try to go E minor,
If you were playing,
or would you go up another third?
if you were playing, boy, this is getting a little deep here. But if I was playing G major 7,
Right.
G major 7, or I mean, G7, G7. Just play G7. I played F major 7 arpeggio, the whole step below it. This is a
Okay.
whole other can of worms I think we
Right,
can
right.
get to. I think we should stick to the G major thing. It's going to be a little bit much, but
Sure, right,
it's
right.
rattling my brain.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So
But-
let me ask you this. Folks a lot of times will say, wow, man, I just want to come up with my own sound. Why do you keep telling me to learn these classic solos? Why are you telling me to steal licks all the time? What's your thought on that?
Oh man, it's crazy. I did an episode actually going on my YouTube, and it was stealing people's licks and dissecting them and realizing what the phrasing is of it.
Yeah.
And then I take them, and every once in a while you'll see them occur within your own playing.
Sure.
You know, like here's a lick I do all the time. It's Neil Sean from.
Yeah.
I take a lick, dissect it, and then I'll mask it.
Yeah, you playing them even back to back, it doesn't sound like.
No.
I mean, I can hear the lick
I
when you actually
take the lick and I make it my own. So
Yeah.
I mean that is a lot of part. I mean there's a lot of that. There's a reason for learning solos. I mean you could you know what that is? That's wait. What is it? What's the slow? Wait. Brian May. Right. So I took that lick at one time, and you know it'll pop up. You'll be playing on a gig, and you'll play. Go, oh, that's the ending lick from Crazy Little Thing Called
Crazy
Love.
Little Thing, yeah.
But it ends up just becoming something that you just add to your bowl. You know, your mixing bowl. So.
Right. So, you know, how does that help though? How does that help learning? Stealing licks from other people, like basically the phrasing, right?
Mm-hmm. It's the
you can
phrasing.
take that phrase and then you can kind of make it your own.
Yeah.
But you know it's safe because it's been used in a hit
Sure, it
song
works.
here. And
I think it's the hardest part of it though is being able to realize what it is, how to move it around in keys.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you have to be able to look at it, which like that told me that's E minor right there. I'm able to look at it and know that just from knowing the forms of the pentatonic scales that you show these guys all the time with a major scale.
Right.
I can kind of look at it and go, all right, this is how this is going to work. And then I simplify. I mean, when I'm playing or A minor, you know what I mean? So it's really kind of just from doing it for a long period of time.
Right.
But I would say that when you're learning solos, it is important rather because all you're going to have out of it at the end of the day is if you learn a solo and you can only play that solo note for note, it's, I think, a little cooler if you look at it and go, oh, I can use that little part and I can use that little part and make it your own. I mean, I just think it's the idea of thinking about it that way.
Right.
You know, rather than just playing a solo for beat it, note for note.
Yeah.
Maybe steal, I use this lick all the time. That's Incredible Rock from Van Halen.
Yeah.
And I use it all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Or just knowing where on the neck you could use something like that.
Right.
So when you were first learning to solo, so you just took position one, right?
Yeah.
Position one of the A blues scale.
I did, yeah.
Right, that's where we all start off. And so how? I want to see if you have the same philosophy. Like, why wouldn't you just start off with everything like you were doing there? I mean, I know that's a kind of a loaded question. I'm leading you somewhere with it, but like, what about just one position? And why is that important to just learn one position?
Well,
At
first
least to
off, the
start.
first position alone, you can make whole
Like
careers.
every
you can make
solo in the
careers
history.
out of it.
Right.
I mean, there's so many guys that we can mention here that really
Yeah.
they know a couple maybe positions.
Yeah.
That you know, and you know them. They're famous guys. It's
Yeah.
just more like about. I think I started with that and I could express myself, but then whenever I wanted to go a little further and further, once you started adding, you know, you get that down. Then you add another idea on top of it, and it ends up being so that you can express yourself a little bit more musically, with more knowledge. But if it comes down to like, say you were locked into that,
Right.
I mean, you're just thinking A minor, I could stay right in that position and not even move.
Yeah.
I did position 2. Slow down.
Yeah.
That's the guy we see everybody go.
Yeah. This is just position one.
straight pentatonic, right? With that, if you're gonna play small amounts, don't play a lot. I'm not playing any outside notes. Milk that forever, you know.
Right, and I mean that sounds as good as anything that you're doing right now, as any of the other stuff. I mean, just not as diverse, but you also we couldn't probably play like that for 5 minutes. Whereas the other stuff you're doing, you're kind of going to some different places on the neck.
The only thing I would add from there, honest to God, is, I mean, I would overlap 2 scales there. Okay, I would say A minor.
Yeah.
First position, right? And then this scale, okay? Just the A minor scale, which is the same as the C major. Let's just call it the A minor scale, right?
Work, yeah.
Now these are all your color notes.
Right.
Like David Gilmour and all the cats, all that Pink Floyd stuff. You play that, and all of a sudden you're going to hear, can you play that one more time?
Yeah.
Side half. I was just mixing those 2 scales together.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It gives you just a little bit more to go. That scale with the minor and some pre-bending like I showed you earlier. There I go. That's the gaggle right there. Pentatonic. Bending to the 5. To the 4, to the 1. Now watch this. Go to the 1.
Yeah.
Now that's the that major 7 arpeggio I showed you.
Yeah.
Remember, if you were playing E, you'd play up a step and a half and play the major 7. What do you do if you're in A? Step and a half, play C major. Same thing.
And so, as far as the execution, that's one thing I want to let folks know is that, you know, really at the end of the day, the notes that Ford's doing here is really staying in the same notes that we always do, but the way that he's phrasing it, you know, he's doing these pre-bends and these other bits and pieces, which honestly, that's the stuff that makes stuff sound so cool.
A little more vocally.
Because if you just, you know, you play something like, that's the same notes, but if you went, you know, just throwing hammer-ons and pull-offs and slides and all the rest, that's the stuff that's going to give you your own voice.
Yeah, right.
But typically, I would imagine you weren't doing that stuff when you were 9.
No. I honest to God, that I think the first thing that I realized, I was like, ooh, the third. So like, if I'm playing, and sometimes you could just go, if I really rein it in, I could just go. That says so much, right?
Sure, yeah.
And then
And that just requires listening
And,
and
like,
playing two notes.
Yeah, and getting rid of the caffeine you had in the morning. In case you'd have
So you can chill out.
simple.
I love it.
I was like thinking as simple as possible, and like it really just about that whole gaggle of bending to the minor
Yeah.
third, right there in that octave, and then there too, okay, and then bending to the 5. I did the Neil Schon lick right there.
Yeah.
If I made that a done, you know that could have worked.
Yeah.
But and then. And that 2 up there is a 2 or a 9. That's a great note.
Yeah.
Mixing that together.
Yeah, it's funny. I was sitting with the blues scale last night, and I was analyzing it as I'm taking the just the pentatonic, the A minor pentatonic, and throwing in the major 2 and the major 6 with it. And I was like, well, hell, that's a Dorian
Yeah.
mode.
Yeah.
And I know people are always talking about modes, right? But how often do you use modes?
It's weird, like I do.
And how do you think about them? Are you, because I know people are running them at home. Marty Schwartz was here, and we had to talk about this. That people run their modes. He did the same thing. He's like, I learned all my modes and all my keys, and then to come to find out, well, I don't. Who uses them? Type of thing. You know, that was his philosophy, and I agreed. I was like, me too. I learned. That was one of the first things I learned was all my modes and all the different keys. And to this day, I really don't use them in the way that I thought that I was going to use them. I'll use a note out of them.
Right.
But that's all a mode is sometimes. It's just one note difference or 2 notes different.
Sure, right.
You
It's
know?
just, well, it's 1 note difference.
Yeah.
It's like the difference between, this. Dorian is 1 note.
Yeah.
This note,
Yeah.
if we're Dorian, that note's up to a 6, sharp
Right.
6. So,
Yeah.
you know when I would notice that? In the progression you were just playing,
Yeah.
when you made that 4 minor, I know I'm playing in A minor, C major, but if I hear,
What
there's
chord
that
was
sharp
that?
7 chord, was that? B7.
Yeah.
If I'm playing a D7, it's my second. If I'm playing a blues and the first chord is A minor, but the second chord, which they're playing is the 4 chord, is a dominant chord,
Yeah.
then I'm immediately going to think, well, there's that 6. So I'm going to go A minor.
And I know folks are probably thinking about this. They'll probably say, well, yeah, but how do you know that? But I mean, after
Paying
a
attention
while,
to the
your-
chords.
And after a while, your ear does start
Paying
hearing
attention to
this
the chords.
stuff. Yeah.
Paying attention to the chord changes. If that's, well, D, that's dominant, right?
to this as tipping your hat to the chord. It's like,
Yeah,
how you doing, my lady?
I'm thinking the chord, but I'm just trying to keep it simple. If we're playing blues,
Yeah.
and that 4 is a dominant, I know I'm playing a D Dorian. I feel like that's my target.
Right. No, but over the minor chord, are you doing that as well? Over the A minor?
Yes, you're getting your Steely Dan thing going on, right?
Yeah.
Now let's try doing this. You could play both over top. It's going to be a little goofy, right?
Minor and Dorian.
So, yeah, I'll go. Now you sound like you're. I'd go fast by it.
Reminds me of the
Santana sound, right?
Yeah. Like when you're in blues, when you're playing blues, you got that major chord. I mean, it's a dominant chord, but and most people are playing. But you could also, you can play that. So you got the flat 3 there, but you got your major 3 there too.
Sure, you can slide in there. You can get all that in there.
I found out it has everything to do with phrasing, because you can't play. That doesn't sound as cool.
Sliding up to it's the way to get away with it. Like if you're gonna
and get out of it real quick.
Or half step below wherever your target note is. That way, for playing chromatically, I know we're jumping all over the place, but for playing chromatic, if I go. Now, if I slide down, it kind of gets a little bizarre sounding, right? So
you find that sliding up to the note is
sliding up from a half step below it.
Doesn't have to be in the scale.
No, it can be outside. It's just happening so fast.
This is what I say. Yeah, I always compare that to if you're walking down the street and someone says "sup."
Yeah.
It's like you don't have to be like, "What was that?"
Yeah, right.
You're like, you know what it means.
Yeah, right.
Sup. It
Right.
means what's up. So it's kind of like if this is the note, you could go.
Yes.
It happens so quick, or you could go, or this. Well, I just played chromatically.
Exactly.
I mean, it goes by so quick.
It is weird.
It just doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just, and so. Flip that around. What does matter is what note are you resting on? It's almost like everything else doesn't matter as much as the notes that you're resting on.
Yeah, right.
Would you agree?
Totally. It's
Would
like
you
it's where you're headed.
Yeah.
Where is home? Where am I going with this? Where am I sliding to? If you play any kind of crazy line, if I go. I knew I was going to A7 the whole time.
Have you taught some of these lines to Papa?
For
I
these
swear
ones?
to God, some of these things that you're doing.
Some of these,
like this sounds like Brett.
That's a simple one. I mean, I know we're jumping all over the place, but if
Right,
you're
right.
playing over that A and you wanted to play an outside line, think of this A minor chord. And look, what am I doing? Sliding to the root.
Okay, so out of that lick that you did right there, what does not belong in the scale?
Where's your
the
flat
slides.
5?
Okay, the slide
Right
up?
there.
Okay.
There's your first bad boo-boo.
Yeah, sure.
But that all
This
works
guy
to
right
me.
here. But this is the note that's outside the scale,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, especially if we're going to this. You can hear how it works if I roll
Yeah.
by it. There's your second one.
Yeah.
It's your flat 5.
you this: when you are soloing, and you start off like usually when a soloist starts off, they're listening to the track. They hadn't heard it yet, and they want to make sure everything's resolving the way that they're hearing it and that sort of thing. And so they're usually laying back and listening across and what have you the first time. Tell me if any of this does not resonate with you, or if you want to add anything to this. But so let's say you're going to solo like you were doing at the beginning of the clip there. Okay. When you're doing that, how are you thinking about? Okay, I'm in this part of the neck, and then you move to another part of the neck. Are you just like, okay, I'm bored. Let's see. I want to do some major bits here, and I know I can get these bits out of here. But how's your thinking? Because I know folks say, well, how do you know? They would say, well, how do you know when to go? As if there is a rule that says that. But like, still, what are you thinking?
Chords.
Okay. What do you mean?
I think that thinking chords. Okay, like if we're doing the G. Well, I'm knowing. Like, once again, I didn't even think. You know what I did? I looked at where my hand was.
Right.
And guess what? This second finger right here,
yeah,
it's already on a note. If these are on these notes have to work.
Yeah.
So let's just start there, okay?
Yeah.
Let's go. In the military, if they didn't think this thought, we'd never got out of bed.
Right.
Okay. Mike, didn't Bill Murray shoot the bird when that happened? Was that
Stripes?
Yeah. Okay, and then it's gonna go to T, right? Okay. With these notes. Rather than being worried about where you're going with it so fast, just look at chords that you want to solo in, and just look at all the notes where they're laying. Don't worry about any other thing other than here's this chord, and then you have this chord. You have this chord. Just pick the notes, ready? Okay. Back to G. I mean, there's cats that are these brutal jazz cats.
Right.
And when they wake up in the morning and they do whatever they do, right?
Yeah.
They are thinking simple when they warm up.
Yes.
They're going, okay, well, let's look deeper. Start looking inside the chord. Wait, this note,
it's almost
that
as
note,
if
and
the
that note.
fundamentals are important.
They're very important, yeah. So they're going, okay, wait, I don't have to only think about the root note. Wait. Start slowing down at home. Don't be like me and go too fast.
Right.
I saw the quote. Somebody said we need to slow down, so we're slowing down right now. That's what I'm doing. So just think. Goes to the minor. Right? Watch this. Now, don't start on that note of the root, though. Start the second note in the chord.
Yeah.
What I was doing before was inverting these up, so I was making my bass note like the Hendrix chord thing.
Yeah.
So look, guys, all I'm doing is see how this anchor note here is covering these three notes, this is your bass note. All I'm doing is taking this finger and putting them here, 2 whole steps above, and taking place of my index on these top 3. So that way,
For your E major part.
and then back to G. And we can go back to the beginning of the lesson where there's your G major.
Yeah.
Right, and then I was doing the pre-bending. I'm playing G major that I I showed you at the beginning of the lesson over
Yeah.
top of it. Okay, go there. Every Christmas song was written from that, but I'm thinking the chord, and on top of the chord is home bass once again, the G major scale, because all those forms are going to be in there. There's the first chord, 2, right? More simple.
So when I'm thinking about a chord progression, when I'm thinking diatonic, I'm thinking about chords that are related in regards to what the diatonic scale says, what major scale says. Major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Right?
Sure, right.
Like we see it almost always, except for the flat 7, which appears a lot in Nashville, or just
now, but also
roll.
we're playing blues scale.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But so if something's like that, you pretty much can just play in that scale, and not have to worry about it. But like when you come across a chord progression, like for instance, I know this is a sacrilege, but to me, my least favorite song, sorry, I shouldn't say it, but my least favorite Hendrix song is Little Wing.
Right.
But I'm getting to like it. And I think the reason that I didn't love it is because of the chordal structure.
Sure,
because the chordal structure is like, what? Well, hold on.
Craziness.
Wait, where you going? Where you going with this chord? R.J. Ronquillo,
I saw that.
right? Did you watch that lesson?
Yeah.
It's a great lesson where he breaks it down at all these different levels, and it's kind of what you're talking about there.
He's thinking arpeggios for each of the chords, or he's going, let's just play E blues.
Right, which you can do.
Right.
You can just play the E blues, but it's going to sound like E blues, and there's certain ways, there's certain notes, there's certain phrases and certain things that won't come out of you if you're thinking that.
Sure, right.
But if you take the time to actually, it's as if you're listening in a conversation to your girlfriend.
Yeah, right.
And you're going, so what you're saying is, and you repeat what she's saying, it's the same exact thing. So if you don't know what the chord is, how in heaven's name are you going to know what to play? If the chord progression is different, and what I mean by that is the chord doesn't belong there, and that chord is going to bring in a new.
The point of the E minor thing is that you're going to know. Okay. Yeah. If you're sitting in with a band and you never heard that before.
Yeah. You'll have to tell me the chord progression because again, I don't even know.
Right. So I'm thinking that the whole idea of like what RJ did is that if you don't know, you know that E minor is going to work.
Sure.
And then if you're the guy that knew the song and you sat down and went, you know the chords. Then B minor.
It's G, F.
Yes. Mixing G major. I was mixing E blues with some G major scale in there, and every once in a while crossing through, like when it was B minor.
So that was the only part that you were like, "Hey, I need to follow a
Yeah.
little bit here."
When that whole gag was
right,
because you have that whole chromatic thing, right? So that could go up. It kind of maybe fudge through that a little bit,
right? Yeah.
But if I was unsure of it, I would be, for me personally, even playing on that song today, because I've never really sat down and dissected that much, I would think E minor and some G major, because you know it's going to work or sound a little bit like Hiram Bullock that played. Was that his name? He was the original guitar player for David Letterman, and he played for Sting.
Oh, that guy's a beast.
Yeah, when Sting did...
I watched him 1,000 times, but I don't know his name.
Hiram Bullock.
Yeah.
And so he would play G major over that. And they'd play that...
Well, now, what do you mean? What do you mean G major as opposed to E minor? Like, what does that mean to you? Because they know it as the same notes, so why are you differentiating?
This is crazy how this is going to go back again to the first thing I showed you. If you play the E minor, let's say this is the first change of that, right? That's that G major arpeggio I showed you.
Yeah. It's crazy how that tonality just sounds totally different than
it works over everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, man. I openly throw it out there. It's funny, like I became friends with Guthrie Trapp like maybe 2 years ago. Maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what are you thinking about? And he's like, man, G major 7 arpeggio. And I was like, all right. And he showed it to me. And you know what? I don't hide. It's like, look, everyone is an inspiration. Guthrie's he's a super dope, cool guy, right?
Yeah.
And he showed it to me, and it was just like the most simple friggin' trick.
Yeah.
And I use it all the time because it just works. It sounds musical.
Yeah.
You know, and you can split that out. So it gives me phrasing ideas out of it all the time. So see how I did the G major arpeggio, and it led me to my E major. And your ear never gets tired of it. It works all the time. So think of that G major arpeggio I showed you, and just practice playing that over.
And so how would they? So that's fine for the key of E minor here, but so would they always think a third up? Play the chord a third up.
If it's a minor chord,
right?
If you're playing a minor chord,
a major chord.
If it's a major chord, play. If it's a straight major chord, let's say it's a straight A major chord, not a 7.
Right.
If it's a major, play that arpeggio.
But if it's a 7th,
play a whole step below it. So there's really not that much to remember.
Right.
If it's a straight major chord, play it in over that position. If it's a 7 chord, play it a whole step below. If it's a minor chord, play it a step and a half above. So you can, if that's too fast for you, can just rewind the video.
Do you know the theory? Do you know the theory why that works? I mean, obviously the G major over the minor, that makes sense.
Yes.
That's, look, whenever we're harmonizing, we're always skipping a note and then playing that. That's always going to sound great. So that makes sense. The G major would work over the E minor.
This goes into your mode conversation.
Right.
I know that if this is I don't want to confuse. Let's stick to E minor. I know that if it's E minor, I know that these are related.
Right.
E minor and G major are the same, right? So I know. Okay. Now if it's E7, or say regular E major.
Yes.
E major 7. Now if it's E7, okay, like the Beatles song. Now the reason why that works by playing the major 7 arpeggio a whole step down is because the mode below this 7, that's the Mixolydian. Because
that's what I was assuming. Yeah.
It has a flat 7.
Flat 7.
You hear that a ton. Okay. The reason why this arpeggio is going to work is because the scale below the dominant scale is called Lydian. That's C note. Let's say Satriani plays Lydian all the time. It's the same note. You're just playing it at a whole step below. Over top of 7.
Let's parse some stuff back then, because this has been stellar stuff. I friggin' love
I'm confused.
I friggin' love it. I friggin' love it. But So if we were to, there's folks out there who just walked with me through like several weeks of call and response. So
Right.
we just take a basic chord progression. I play the same lick 4 times, and they would repeat it,
Right.
and then we do it again, and change it up a little bit, change it up a little bit again. And so basically we were working on breathing, and phrasing, and taking a moment to think about what it is that we just did. So what would be a great thing for them to do here to start off? Do you suggest vamping on one chord?
Yes, one
and
chord.
doing what you're doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially if you leave the third out. Like if
Why?
you did.
What do you mean leave the
because
third?
then that tells you whether you're major or minor.
Oh, okay. You mean leave the third out of the chord
Yes.
as opposed to soloing. Okay.
Just you can, here I'm going major, minor, 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 right? I did E minor arpeggio. Back to E major.
That's cool.
Now let's just stick minor. Major. Back to minor. Back to major. Major. Hard minor.
Yeah.
Just stick to a couple ideas. Let's go E minor and stay there. Let's go the G major arpeggio over top of that. E minor blues coming out of it. Blues. Back to the G major. Let's play just the chord that I showed you down here. Kind of Robin Trowery all of a sudden. Let's go to let's imply our Hendrix ideas. Major all of a sudden. That's a great exercise. I'm just
Yeah,
going.
man.
There's no. I
You don't
could
have to
literally
think too
I
much.
Could, I could play anything over top of
Sure,
that.
sure. And you're listening. You're just listening to see what do you like. There's no
Right.
Don't think is there a right or wrong. There's no wrong.
No.
It's just what do you like.
Right.
It's like taste. It's like food.
It is.
Just like you like that. Don't like that. Don't do it again.
The hard
you know?
part is when you hit something awkward is knowing how to get out of it.
Yes.
And I think it's important to realize that you're only a half step away from what's correct.
Always.
So if you're like,
Have you seen? Have you ever
Right
seen
there.
like any of your top notch guys do this live, and you're like, oh, did they mess up or is it
Yeah.
me?
No, yeah.
I've seen Stevie Ray Vaughan where I'm like,
well, him
I
and
don't
John
know
Mayer
what
do
was
this
it?
a lot.
No.
They do this thing where like they'll be playing some of his hit songs, and he'll be playing over an E major 7, you mean
Yeah.
E major 7, and he does this a lot. Rather than he's playing E minor.
Yeah.
I'll do like a little hit, and that's always been kind of my least favorite thing.
Yeah.
This sounds weird to me.
Yeah.
But they'll stuff it in there. And C. Ray Vaughan used to do that kind of stuff.
Well, if you think about it, and we had this discussion, came up several times. Why does the minor blues work over a freaking 1-4-5 chord progression?
Yeah,
it shouldn't work.
Right.
It's got that freaking minor sound.
I
in
know,
it,
it's crazy.
but it works. But
Right.
that's also what makes blues blues.
Well,
is the fact that-
it's because it's dominant. So you have that flat 7.
Yeah.
Both major and minor just work, and the gods
Yeah.
that invented it for everyone, they gave everyone some hope that, just getting started, that they had something that they could release on and be able to make music with their friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Some genius figured that out. Started with Robert Johnson.
Yeah.
And all those cats. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They were mixing it together.
It's magic. You want to get to some questions? I know folks are raring to ask you some questions here. So
Hey, look at that.
Let's do this. You down with that? There's no telling what they're
Let's
going to
do
ask.
it.
Gonna ask
What we
all
got?
sorts of crazy. Oh, Robert's in here. Robert. Oh, Robert Baker. You know Robert? He's
Yep,
a
I
beast-
do. I
beast
love
of-
him, man.
What's up, Robert?
Let me tell you something. I love Robert Baker. I walked up to him.
He's a great player, man.
At NAMM, a few years ago, I walked up, and when we didn't know each other yet.
Yeah.
And then I think it was last year I walked up, and I'm like, and I have to be honest with you, there's been things that, like, just watching his stuff, like, I'm just like everyone else, you know what I mean? Like, I'll piddle around on it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he's done some stuff before that, like, that guy has really good, useful stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it's never like, it's always just usable, real life
Yeah.
stuff,
Yeah.
Um,
Well, he's a real dude, so he plays real. You know?
yeah,
Just
yeah.
like
I think it was using like jazz melodic minor,
Yeah.
and figuring out how to use it.
Yeah.
When I was getting that stuff like that, I would watch him, and he has a really simple way of showing you how to do the
Yeah.
whole thing.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Robert. And
Yeah.
we're gonna actually at 1:15. I did an interview with Robert the other day via Skype that we're going to be doing at 1:15 today. So you guys hang out for that, and in 1 hour from now, and Robert will be in the chat there to answer some questions for you guys. Okay. So okay, and if you see a question that someone's saying, "Are you guys brothers?" Because of our little,
Oh, that's kind of weird, huh? Maybe we are.
yeah. Brothers from
Of course,
another
I'm the younger brother.
mother. Yeah, I'm sure you are.
I think I
Look at
don't know
this, I'm
about
getting-
that. This is a tough call right now.
All right, so
We'll see how long each of us can hang before we, get tired or whatever. All right, let's do some here.
if you see
What
one
you
that
got?
jumps out, hey friends, if you would, all caps with a question mark, it'll make it a lot easier for us.
Okay, we are brothers from other mothers, so that's answered, right?
Boom. How about today's rig
There you
rundown?
go. Cool.
Let's talk about it, because literally, I texted Ford last night. I took a picture of my Black Star. I said I got a Black Star. I got a Blues Junior, and he just came in with this old piece of this thing's old.
This is a kind of this was if you guys are
Why don't you tell
following-
the history of it?
if you're following Tom Bukovac, Guitar Echo 5, whatever his name. Just look up Tom Bukovac. His first bunch of episodes he had for his new homeschooling. This is a guitar from there. I had found him in a parking lot at a barbecue in Arkansas. I had found this guitar, a real 59 335, and I bought it. I brought it home. It was a lot of money. And then I found another 59 at a real good deal because of what's going on. People were like getting scared and selling their guitars.
Yeah.
So I asked him to loan me some money, which was a lot of money. And he said,
Oh,
well,
so this is recently.
this was like a month ago.
Oh man.
That's how I ended up with this.
Okay,
So
okay.
he said, leave your guitar in my van in this neighborhood. I'm like, okay. And he leaves me the cash. I go buy this guitar. When I left his house, I realized I'm never going to see that 59 again. Yeah. But thankfully, he's had this 64. Wow, the 64, and I like this guitar a lot. So he let go of this one, which is every bit as good. It's just not quite as, it's a 64,
Sure.
So we kind of like traded up that way, and he got his cash, I got this. And I knew, there's no doubt, I've had a lot of 335s. I mean,
Right.
I've had the best ones, and it's just from hustling, you know what I mean? I'm not a
Yeah.
rich guy. I just work on getting what I want to get financially by
Yeah.
swapping gear and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
Which is a whole nother conversation.
it is a whole
which
other
I would
conversation.
love to have with
So
you.
he gets the guitar, and I realized because I plugged this guitar on when I came back from meeting the guy at the barbecue, drove 5 hours home at midnight, plugged it into an old Princeton, and the PAF pickup sounded like it had a chorus on it.
Yeah.
It did that thing everyone talked about. It had the greatest 3D dimensional thing. It was like I was on a spaceship,
Yeah.
And when I left it in this van, I knew I'm never going to see this guitar again.
Yeah.
And sure as shit, I go hiking and I get a text when I get back. It's like,
Oh my
You're
God.
not getting this guitar back. So then he ponied up, and I ended up getting this.
Right.
And he got the greatest guitar. But the deal is, if he ever sells it, I get it back. But I promise you right now, he's never letting that guitar go.
Yeah.
Never going to happen. But I got this, and you could see him play this one on Homeschooling for a bunch of episodes. And as of now, he's playing the 59 I got. And I love the guy. He's the best guitar player out there. I have no problems with that. And he's just a cool cat, and he deserved the guitar. So really, honestly, the reason why I gave it up is because if I put as much time and hard work in as that cat's done, I would be thinking, he deserved the guitar.
Sure,
So it's like
yeah.
that, And he gave me this one, so it all worked out good.
Yeah, I have a few guitars that I feel a little guilty that I have,
Right.
and I'm not as good as, like my Gretsch.
Ah.
I need to learn some more rockabilly, and some, legitimately. So.
Yeah.
But as far as tone, so I see you play 335s a lot, and today Ford's running through the Black Star, just running the clean channel.
Yeah.
And what are you using today?
I'm using first in the line is an original green, famous Nashville Nobles ODR1. And then what I'm doing is that the Nobles are infamous for having just a tiny bit little too much low end. You have to play around it. You know what I mean? You have to it's got this incredible soft clipping sound that's really beautiful. But sometimes it has a little bit too much low end. So I'm reshaping that after that with a new steel string Vertex version 2 pedal, which has a bass switch on it. It just carves out just a tiny bit of that extra slop. Mm-hmm. And after that, I'm running into, which I think is the best reverb pedal out there, which they still make them, but they're cheap, is a Polera reverb from Digitech. Mm-hmm. Because the codes for the reverb, even these bigger companies that I can mention all day, do not have what they had, which is Lexicon. Digitech and Lexicon were one company before they got bought out.
I remember back in the day, Lexicon verbs were just
That's a Lexicon.
ridiculous.
Those are Lexicon reverbs.
Okay.
So you can get one used for probably $75, and it does the halo and all that. But I know that even Mason from Vertex, who's a guru for that kind of stuff, he's like, it's the best reverb there is there. So I use that religiously. Sometimes if I'm in a pinch and I need both, I'll use a Strymon Flint. But for today, it's just this through the Nobles into a steel string to carve out a little bit of reverb into the clean channel of a Black Star, which I love. And I've talked to before. I mean, I think a Black Star, this exact amp, this Soloist 60, I think is the best backline because they sound the same all the time. They don't sound goofy,
No.
They're great reverb and all that too if you want to add more on top.
Yeah, and that thing will rock too. Just plug a SG into that.
Kicks butt.
Oh my God.
Yeah, good stuff.
So and it's interesting because when you know your tone, and a lot of players that I have in here will come in with just a couple pedals, what have you, and they know their tone, and with the guitar they want and a few pedals, they can get a good backline amp to sound very similar to their own stuff. So
what we got here?
Okay, Rich is saying when you combine two scales, do you actually mean overlapping the shapes simultaneously?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes, I am. Especially if I'm only vamping on one chord. Mm-hmm. Okay, when you combine two scales, like I'm mixing up. I'm wondering if he's talking about from when I was just doing that over that chord with no third in it.
I think also what he probably means, or like as I'm reading that, what I would think is, does it have something to do with the phrase? So like I had mentioned this riff earlier, right? The major, or using the minor. But if we wanted to add the major blues over it, or the major third, But it's almost like if I did, that sounds kind of. I mean, what is that? You know what I mean? It doesn't sound like.
This is gonna get a little heady, but let's do that. Let's just say that we are playing blues. Rich, you ready?
Yeah.
You ready, Rich? Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna think the scale that you already know, right? And then you're gonna play this scale overlapped with that. So now let's just pick between those two scales. Let's go minor, then I'm gonna go that second one I showed you, right? chord. Up to the D. Back to the 1. Go to E. So I did there. I'm going a little ahead, but I used that major 7 trick where I was talking about if it's a 7 chord, play the major 7 scale a whole step below. So when you went to the 5 chord, I went a whole step below.
What are you using with that?
The D major 7 arpeggio.
Oh, that's right. Okay. So,
Yeah.
Sure.
When it went to the E7 chord, play a whole step below, play the D major.
So essentially, that's E mixolydian.
Yes. Right, it is E mixo, but I'm playing a whole step below the scale.
But so why do you think about it as that as opposed to E mixolydian?
Well, I could do that. I could play.
But then you're probably playing the E note first.
Exactly. That's the whole thing. I'm starting from the flat 7 of the chord. And then going back to what he was talking about, which is just playing the minor. Playing minor and major overlapping each other. And then I just decided to do that because I had talked about it earlier where like if you see a 7 chord, I don't care if you did a whole step below over the first chord. If it's this chord, just play C. Whole step below whatever the 7 chord is, you can play the major 7 arpeggio.
Yeah.
You can do it over A by playing a whole step below that, G major 7. Play D. Play C. E. Play a whole step below that, it's D. Book ending with blues.
Yeah.
Back to A. I mixed together that 2 positions that we were talking to Rich about. You know what I mean? I don't want to squeak that in while I had the opportunity to. If it's a 7 chord
That's cool.
in a blues, which it's always going to be that or a 9 chord, a whole step below that scale that I showed you. Works a whole step below. And if it's a minor chord, you play it up a step and a half. If it's an A, play C. If it's D, play F. If it's G minor, play a step and a half below, B flat. You know what I mean? You might have to rewind this to follow what I'm saying. But once you learn that same arpeggio, it works for all of those things.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Now, if someone asked me that, I would say, the way that I think is I will typically think one or the other. But when you're talking, at least as far as blues, because that's mainly what I play is like blues rock.
Sure.
I don't really. I don't feel like I'm very good at country just because I just don't really love the sound.
Sure,
Sorry.
I got you.
But so I just don't feel like I'm very good at that. But if I was thinking about like A blues, and I was thinking, say, like in this 3rd position here, we've got the major, but then you also do
Clapton.
Right.
Time, right.
So you've got both of those. There's the major blues. So I would think about a lick like that, and then I might go into, which is now a minor.
Sure.
But you could throw both of them in there, but I feel like if you do, it's almost like it has to be a phrase that makes sense.
Oh, totally. But you can get away with it.
Otherwise, you're just kind of like running down the...
Sure. Right. Yeah, you don't want to be doing that. You want to play
That sounds
phrases.
jazzy.
Even while just doing that right there, trying to explain it to Rich, it's like I'm using the scale, but if I was playing in a real situation, I would think of that A minor form that you know, mixed with the A major form. Now, if I was playing more patiently, which I always should try to do, if I was playing over top of this 7 chord, back to the minor, major 3rd, since that's the 7 chord, what can we do, folks? We can play a whole step below.
Yeah.
Ready? How that works?
And you play the 135 or the 1357.
Even if you took over top of your 7, whole step below, and you played the G major 7 chord, see what that forms. Yeah, you got it. Back to your blues. G major. That's the second, the scale I showed you, Rich. Second position. That's the thing you were doing. G major. I'm not thinking anything other than G major 7, the A minor scale, or that A major scale superimposed over top of the 1.
I love it.
I'm not really thinking anything more than that.
I got more stuff to go work on.
I'm not thinking anything other than that.
How do you know which scale to use to solo in for each chord? For example, if you're playing in the key of A, which pentatonic scale can you use and why? That one's for you because they know my answer on that.
How do you know which scale to use to solo in for each chord? Okay, well, it all just tells me by if the chord's major or minor. Like we talked about that before. My first chord's A minor. As soon as I see that the 4 chord becomes a 7, then I know that I'm going to be thinking. Well, I know that that's D mixolydian because of why? Because it's a 7 chord. Which once again, if it's a D7 chord, what can I play over top of that? I can play C.
Major 7.
I can play C dominant 7 arpeggio over top of that. But I know the
C
first,
dominant 7.
yes.
Okay.
But I know if the first chord of this blues is an A minor chord, I know it's just A minor. If I see this, then I know it's A Dorian or C or A Dorian or D mixolydian. And then if that's going to be, then you know this is going to be E mixo too. Back to the 1. I do that a lot. It's just these short. Same form, whole step down for the 4 chord. That's how I look at it now. Let's say that this was, the 4 chord was a minor. I know that I'm playing an A minor or C major.
Yeah.
That's how I would look at it.
Yeah.
That's simple.
And do you try to be cognizant of each chord as it's going by?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I mean, and it's sometimes the whole point was like with the little wing thing that like RJ outlined, I think really the premise for that or the idea is if you're in a situation where you're playing and you're not 100% sure because you even haven't, you don't have the ability yet, like in your, how long you've been doing it. You just have to be able to figure out, okay, the first idea is what pentatonic scale is this? Little wing, it's E minor.
Yeah.
Because you can play that all day long and it'll work.
Right.
I mean, and so you're able to start seeing the difference. I think for blues playing and stuff like that, as soon as you see that the 4 chord's major, or if it's minor, that pretty much sets the precedence for what scales you're thinking of.
Yeah.
So over top of this, I'm thinking A minor, or minor scale blues. And then when it goes into 4 major, I'm thinking D mixolydian, which is E, same exact scale. Back to A minor. weird thing that's just a little complicated is that you can play minor thirds over top of that 4-chord too. E. They work, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of, if I'm playing the minor to the major, here's the major, here's the minor. I just kind of bend it up slowly. So I'm playing that scale I showed you. I'm adding that note in.
Yeah. You know, that's why another reason why I feel like the blues works so much is because every time you experience that minor third, you're almost always bending it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
You're almost always bending
Yes.
it to the major.
Tons.
So even if it doesn't go there, if it doesn't end up there, it's
Right.
like it's,
Right.
it's headed there, and your brain fills in
I'm
the
floating in between the thing the whole time. So ends up sounding like Jeff Beck.
You know, I want to mention just a couple of donations that we got. It was a long time ago, and I don't even know if I have them up here anymore. And I apologize, but I did see some come through. Honorian, Stephen, Keller, thank you so much for the donation. And I know I saw some others there, so I apologize. You know, when we have a guest on the show, I like to extrapolate everything that we can from them because you hear me jib jab all day long, so why not, right?
Warren D. Is that D. Martini?
Oh yeah, right.
I love Warren D. Martini.
Oh my God, that guy's a beast.
Wait, what was it like?
Frickin' V. Was that? What was that from?
It's Warren D. Martini.
Is it really? Was he doing the chicken picking? Was he doing
I
chicken
can't keep
picking?
my fingers from doing that.
Yeah, right.
He's mixing like Mixolydian and minor all that together. He was a bad dude, man.
Yeah, there you go.
So
Robert's
is.
saying, nah, that's a nice compliment right there.
I loved the Rat record with Lay It Down and all that in there.
Oh
I actually
my
thought of redoing like a. Wait.
That's hilarious. Swinging that one. That's ridiculous.
I just want to say, my claim to fame is I remember seeing Steel Panther before they got really
Oh
big. They
my
were called
God.
School of Rock, and I came really close to peeing on Stephen Pearcy's foot because the urinals were so close together.
And
I'm like-
Stephen was there.
Yeah, he was peeing right next to me, and I almost peed on his foot. I had had a
wow.
little bit too much to drink that night.
Sure,
but it was
sure.
so jam packed in there. It was nerve wracking.
I would pay to pee on his foot. I'd pay good
that
money.
guy, man. But it's weird because it's so bizarre that Warren D. Martini's not even in Rat anymore, and you're thinking, how is that Rat?
Is Steve?
What is that?
Yeah, no, I didn't even know they're still playing. I mean, I know 10 years ago they were. No.
Yeah, I appreciate
Who
that.
would you?
Robert,
Who
the
inspired you to start playing guitar? Right. So Beck was one.
Oh, yeah, but
Sonny and
my
Cher.
older brother,
Sonny and Cher.
Sonny and
Let's
Cher.
be-
My
let's
older
be
brother
fair.
played guitar too, and he had actually he had a guitar before I got mine, so I didn't even say that, but I would like mess with it, you know what I mean, and
Yeah.
like this, that, and I think I was more interested in guitar than my brother, which at the same sense, my brother ended up being incredible. He was like an Yngwie guy, but then he got into like doing other different types of art, so I would like tinker with his guitar. So it was like my brother, and I got to go see lots of shows my parents would take me to, so I had so many influences, but I would say it was like Jeff Beck, Neil Schon, and then like, actually I didn't even said Hendrix. I liked it all, man.
Sure,
like there's
man.
nothing I didn't like.
Right.
And the weird thing is, man, I listen to like Katie Lang, or I listen to like, weird bluegrass cats, or I loved Angus Young. I think that like, He's real recognizable, but like I mix it all together. And
I hate that that's a weird thing because that's how I am.
Right.
And it shouldn't be that way. It's
No.
like if it's good music, don't close your mind off to good
No.
music. I don't care if it's hip hop. I mean,
Right.
there's some hip hop that the production.
Dude, I
I'm
liked
just
Accept.
bang,
I liked metal, man. I
Dude,
liked
Wolf
Udo-
Hoffman lives in Nashville,
I know,
right?
I know.
that's-
Yeah. So he like,
God, I love that stuff.
I don't barely know it, but yeah. Wait, one of the first songs I learned was I was like 10 when I learned this. Wait.
Oh yeah, that stuff. Yeah. Oh, I love that stuff, man. Yeah.
Hilarious. Right.
I mean, but
Maiden.
yeah, talk about melodies and phrasing. I mean, those
Right.
guys were all about phrasing as well. I know it's not the subject matter, but I would love to. See, quote of the day. I would pay to pee on Warren's foot. Not on Warren's foot, although
It wasn't when it was
he's-
Stephen
On
Piercy.
Stephen, but I would.
Yeah.
Warren could pee on my foot, and I would be like, "That's cool."
Yeah.
Warren DeMartini.
I
peed
think
on my
Warren
foot.
actually technically pisses excellence. That's what
He does.
You know, so you gotta.
that guy was a beast. All right, so
What else we got in here? I
let's-
smell a rat. Play Buddy Guy. Okay.
So yeah, you're very much.
I
a
got kicked
blues-
out of his dressing room once, Buddy Guy.
Buddy Guy?
I was on. Well, I played. The weird thing when it's on was I played a lot of blues. So I got into a blues band with a lady named Barbara Blue, and she's from Memphis. And we played 7 nights a week from the time I was like 18 till I was about 25. Mm-hmm. And the bass player was at one time in Dolly Parton and in Willie Nelson's band. He was the bass player. Bless his soul, he died, but he was really, really hard on me. And he would do things like we'd be playing, you know. And he wouldn't even be playing. He wouldn't be playing, and I'd be over there playing, and he would like stand there. He'd have his finger up his nose to see how long I'd actually gone without realizing that he wasn't even playing.
What were you supposed to do?
Well, he was basically telling me,
Like, you're not
"You
looking-
aren't
you
listening.
don't even hear me
You're
right
not
now."
listening."
Right,
That's what he
okay.
did.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of people around that, and Ray DeFay was the drummer, and they're just amazing musicians.
Yeah.
And I was really young. I was the weakest link in the band, and that was okay, but I did that, and it really taught me a lot. But we had opened for Buddy Guy, and we had this dressing room when we went in there, and there was a cheese plate, and there was a bunch of Heineken beers, so we're drinking all of his beer.
You ate all the cheese, didn't
We
you?
ate all the cheese. It was Havarti, Dill Havarti. And we're going down, and this little Scottish guy, which turns out was Eric Clapton's road manager as well, he said, "What are you doing in here? Get the..." They threw us out, and we get to our dressing room, and I'm not kidding you, it was a mop closet. It was like this tiny little closet, and there was no beer, and there was no cheese.
You were eating Buddy Guy's cheese.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, sure.
But Buddy Guy found
Buddy
out.
likes his cheese.
He found out, and it was in the era where he wore overalls all the time. And the funny thing for perspective of being young is, you know, I'm talking about I'm in my early 20s, and I thought, man, he's old, and he was only like 56 or 57 at the time. And he came out, and I was all like, man, I can't believe how amazing he was. He kicked my ass. And thinking of my mindset,
Sure.
meanwhile, he's 57, he's in the
Right.
prime of his life.
Right.
But he came out and just schooled us so hard. We looked like
Yeah.
chumps. He just
Yeah.
sent us packing. But so there's your answer to your Buddy Guy thing.
I love it.
Smell a rat.
I love it. I wish we had a looper pedal here for you because I would love, and maybe we could do this on another. We'll do this at another time because we're far into this program here. But I would love to have you on again. Not that we're going anywhere. We're still going to be going.
I'd love
here
it
for another 50
anytime,
minutes.
man.
I would love to have you on again also because of you're a remarkable studio player and very tasteful. And since you're a songwriter, it's like we talked about it earlier. It's like knowing when to stay out of the way and knowing like how to think about different parts.
Sure.
And I would love to see you build a track.
Oh, dude,
With
that's
a
my
looper.
favorite thing to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Look at this. Building tracks is the best.
And like, and basically like how are you thinking? All right. Other scales rather than Mixolydian and 4 and 5 chord.
Yeah, I mean, I could play. I can stay within the first position pentatonic and just target the notes around the chord. The truth of the matter is you don't even need to necessarily be thinking about the scale as much as knowing what the triad of the chord is. Okay, like once again, because I know I've switched around so much because I tend to do that, and I'm learning to be as professional as he is, which is you have to stick.
It's about simple. If you just don't know anything, then it's
Oh,
real easy to do.
I studied guitar at Duquesne, yes. Mark Cook.
Who? What?
This guy here,
Bent?
Tom. But yeah, get this, man. I talk to Mark Cook all the time. I've known him since 1992.
Yeah.
And he actually had me do a clinic at Duquesne for one of their summer camps.
Oh, that's cool.
And I like that. And Ricky Malls, who was a Pittsburgh cat. You have Mark Lucas, who's amazing. Steve Dellish is incredible. Glenn Pavone was one of my earlier influences as far as playing blues. Warren King. And then you had John Peirce, which was the younger brother of the older Peirce from Duquesne as a teacher. But John was like a savant freak. Corel Tunador. I could go on forever with the Pittsburgh guitar players, but hope I answered your question.
But there's some good ones, huh?
Yeah, there's some amazing ones.
All right. Let's get to another.
Oh, it was the one thing. If you're going back to the other guy, you could just go between there 1, 3, 5 of A, and then E. Now, I'm not saying to start on the root of. You could go. Look at like all this stuff is the building blocks for the bigger idea that you're headed to. So like I think a lot of this thing is when we start rolling tape and we're in shows like this and we're doing what we're doing right now, no matter how long we've been doing this, as soon as the camera turns on, it makes you a little less impatient. And I think what happens is when you get in a studio, you'll spend the first like hour winding down to be able to get yourself to slow down and start listening to your playing as if you would when you're listening to someone else's record.
Right, yeah.
Because you're not going to play nearly as much of like even what we've been playing during this lesson. No. You're going to play this, and once again you go. Things, but I'm not playing anything outside of that A minor, and then I played D Mixolydian, E Mixolydian, back to blues. That's all I did right there.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, let's.
Barbara Blue, wait, see?
Barbara Blue, yeah, they're saying, is that the real name?
Barbara Blue, yes. Yeah, she's in Memphis. She's amazing. She's like the queen. They call her the Queen of Memphis.
I can totally hear the Journey breaks in there. Nice.
Journey. God, could you imagine coming up with that? There it is. What's that?
We go back to the song. How can you not write a great melody over that song? Like you gotta, you know what I mean? You gotta be not listening.
He's playing A blues over the top of that.
Great songs.
He's playing A blues scale mixed with C major scale.
Someone's saying, does this keep sounding a little like Eric Johnson? And there's a couple things that you've done that give me that tonality. Yeah.
Yes. That's as soon as you start outlining arpeggios and stuff.
Yeah.
That whole gaggle right there.
Yeah. Jack's saying when Ford refers to up a step and a half is what Eric explained to find the relative minor. Just go 3 frets. Yes, but another thing that Ford was talking about is he's saying if you're playing a dominant 7th chord, also known as just a 7th chord, like an A7, he's saying to arpeggiate go down a whole step,
Right.
and arpeggiate the
G major
the G,
7, major
the
7.
G major 7.
Yeah, G major 7 arpeggio. Play that.
Which is crazy because it just gives it a totally different sound.
Right. But it works.
Yeah,
I think more than thinking about it, just learn the scale and just work on playing that a whole step below any dominant chord.
Yeah.
Or if it's minor, play it up a step and a half.
Yeah.
If it's A minor, play C.
And Gerald, I know you're saying this is out of your league, and here's the deal: I can promise you that it is not really out of your league. It's just that
No, it's not your league. It's
if we took the time and
Right.
sat down with you and showed you the connectors, you definitely would get it. So like, and I say that to everybody, like just remember that when something feels out of your league on the guitar, it's just typically just right outside.
Right.
It doesn't mean that you have to play things
or
as
they've
fast.
spent 5,000 years on it. I mean,
Yeah, you don't have to. I mean, I
No.
tell them all the time, the stuff that I'm teaching them, had someone taught me that,
Sure.
oh my God.
Right.
I would have shaved off 20 years
Right.
easily out of my
It's
playing.
crazy. I'm
It's
not really
nuts.
playing anything that's not too difficult. It was more like that. Like I wish somebody would have shown me that stuff too, a long, long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nuts. All right. We got about another 10 minutes here, and stick around because we're also going to be doing dropping a premiere video with me and Robert Baker. So check that out, okay? All right, and I'm not seeing a ton of questions, but this will be a great time. I think people are scared. I think they're scared of you. Okay, can you touch on the cage? Okay, do you think about the caged chord shapes?
In
or-
very
at all?
very simple ways. Like for instance, like I just take the chord and I look at it. If I put the third there, E. I can just see all the shapes within the chord itself, or invert it around. I could see it all just by thinking chords the whole time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking that, there.
Yeah. Yeah. So walking up there just now, you're playing the same chord but in versions?
1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. 1, 4, 5. Right?
That's
1,
yeah.
4, 5. 1, 4, 5. That's a 1.
Yeah. And right there, what Ford did, he didn't just one day wake up and know that. He had to sit there and practice that stuff.
Yeah.
And but doing so, now all of a sudden, you're soloing, and there's a couple songs with a 1-4-5 in it out
Right.
there.
Tons,
There's a
like
few.
Everything.
Like everything has that. So, that's what I say. We start with the stuff that you're going to use all the time. Know the 1-4-5. And he's learned his triads across the fretboard, like
Why not?
that whole course that I've got for you inside UGS. And if you know that, then if you're playing a song and you're playing in this position, then you've got the 1-4-5 underneath
Right.
your fingers. And then when you're up here, you got the 1-4-5
Right.
underneath. You got the arpeggios there.
Yeah.
And if you just blank, at least you got that.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, the rest of the
There's so
scales
much
show
stuff
up
for
to
it
you.
out there on that too. But the cage system is something that I think is easy to find knowledge on.
Yeah.
It is. But
Yeah.
I mean, I learned that years ago. Somebody just showing me. I was like, and but just now it's like it puts it all together, and I'm patiently in my mind, even if it seems like I'm going fast, I'm thinking about what I want to hear next.
Yeah.
I can tell you that I really am seeing, like I see with people's comments and stuff like that, and it's really a learning experience because I've only been doing this for so long. It's like to learn to slow down because I
Yeah.
realize that a lot of people, you guys are out there just learning right now, and I
Right.
totally dig that and I respect that because I am too. And it's like what I'm going to try to do is really to wind it back in the future, because I know it can seem like easy to myself, but I know it's not easy to others. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but you've got some amazing concepts here.
That's a good thing, though. Let's just do that real quick. Your A chord. There's your 4 chord. You know that one? So this is just on the 2nd fret. D, G, B. And then your 4 chord. Okay, so you have 4, 2, 3. 5 chord is 6, 4, 5. Back to your 1. 7, 6, 5. 4. It's all 7 to 9. To your 1, which is 11, 9, 10. Then your 4. 12, 11, 10, 5, 14, 13, 12. To the 1. It's all across 14. Shapes alone, big part of it too is like just look right where you are. Noodle around on there with one thing on a looper, just one chord, and you can superimpose all of those chords over top of a droning A.
Playing 1, 4, 5 arpeggios all over.
Yeah, I'm stacking over top of it. You know what I mean? And just letting your ear. When you only have one chord happening, you can pretty much play anything over. Especially if I don't have a third. You know, I can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
So it's a blast to do.
Yeah, I love.
If you get hired for a wedding and you don't have any music prepared, just record an A note and just blast off. They'll be like, that guy.
I love it. How much of your playing then is? I mean, it sounds like you think a lot about theory.
I don't think I'm necessarily thinking a lot about theory, but I'm thinking about just things that I've learned that work for me. But I'm trying to, at the same time, get beyond it to shut that off and just think about like the chord that I'm seeing, you know. Outside of that, which is pretty hard to do, but I will just try to wring the most out of like nothing. You know what I mean? I will take something and make it so it's a... Lots of bending. That was all blues with bends.
It's a cool sound. I mean, it's you
I'm not
definitely
doing
have
much.
your own
Just
sound
blues
there.
with bending.
Yeah, like somebody says it's like he's got a B bender,
Yeah.
but it's your finger. You're starting off with a pre-bend.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, which is like a steel sound. All right. Well, we don't have a ton of questions here, but I would like to do this again with you, and then, like I said, have you talk more about like playing in the studio, and all the different pieces that you would put on top of that.
Yeah, we could build something to get like a track going, and I would just build something, and maybe we could show like literally building a solo.
Yeah.
That I mean, I do that. There's things that I put. If you go to my YouTube,
What is your YouTube too?
it's just Ford Thurston music.
Music,
Find
okay.
me. I think it's gold. What is it? 2011 gold top.
2011 Gold Top.
2011 gold top from the mezzanine over there. 2011 gold top. You'll see Ford Thurston music, but there's lessons on there that I do. But there's some videos where I'm playing with some friends of mine and stuff. And those solos and stuff like that. what I'll do is we'll go to the studio and we'll jam for a while, and then I'll kind of piece together what I know I'm digging and I'm hearing throughout that session, and that's what I'll end up playing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they always end up having the most musical ride, and I have no problem with working things out. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, everything should be at the level of like, any Dodd Felder stuff, which by the way I didn't mention. Him and Billy Gibbons are some of my favorite. But those solos are worked out. I mean, for Hotel California, that wasn't improvised.
No, right.
And I have no problem with that. I think there's a part of us that's kind of like, we think, oh man,
that just came out.
Can't even believe that he's writing something. It's like, well, you believe they wrote the song, right? Why is the guitar part any different?
Dude, honestly, I love a well-written solo.
Right.
I know if someone's just improvised something for the most part.
Right.
Unless they're just like
it's not as memorable most of the time.
Yeah. I mean,
throw it,
tip your hat to the melody of the chorus or something, and then but embellish on it,
Peter Eustace, what's up, Petey? Daily and played with everyone.
Yeah,
I love that.
100%.
I've known Pete since literally in our rock days. I've known Pete since I was 14.
I love that, and I tell folks all the time. Look. Peter, who knows Ford, said Ford lived, breathed guitar for over 30 years daily and played with everyone. You get good when you do that. Love your brother. So when you see Ford do this, and you're like, well, I got fingers and I got a guitar. I got a 335. Well. And you're doing this. Why isn't it happening? Because I know you feel that. Because I do.
Right.
Everybody feels that. But you got to understand that it has to do with all the hours booked. If this is the first time you've met Ford, we're talking tens of thousands of hours before this, and he started off right where you started.
Except now you can cut that time way back,
way down,
because you didn't have all of those. You didn't. Now you had a record player with a needle, and you sat there drooling on yourself, listening to,
sure.
What was it? Van Halen, Push Comes to Shove. Up with the. To learn that stuff,
Yeah.
I sat there for freaking, I swear, brain was coming out of my, it was like scary. And now.
But think about the intensity that you were listening to it. Whereas now, a lot of times kids are like, well, it's not happening easy enough. And it's like your level of going after something was different than now where things are kind of handed to folks. And I feel like they've kind of lost that drive of, dear God, I'm going to go after this.
Well, I was going to say then, what I would do is in order to get your ear together would be like you talked about, having one chord and play simple stuff over top of it and start implying major and minor over a chord. Just don't put a third and someone asked the question. Just play if it's an A. Just have the root in fifth. A and E. That way you can apply anything over it. There's your minor. And just noodle away in that way. And then maybe start building solos. First two lines of my solo, and then I'd move on to the second and fourth, third idea, and so on, and then start recording it and remembering what you're doing, and start analyzing what it is.
Yeah.
And it's really not that difficult once you just know these simple scales, and you know that when you go to a chord, you don't always have to outline the chords, but it doesn't hurt to hit some notes that are in it, right?
Sure.
And so on.
Freaking love it. Ford, will you be back?
I'm here any day. I'm here 7 days a week. Or you can go, you can also see me on my Instagram. I was just telling you there, so it's Ford Thurston Music at Instagram. Or please subscribe to my YouTube. I could use more than 13 followers.
Indeed.
I think I have 12.
Dude, okay. Well, we're gonna blow that thing up. Let's do that because I mean, obviously, this guy knows how to ravage the guitar.
Can we drop the new thing I have for your Kemper deal?
Let's do that. What's the link?
So Tom Bukovac, he's the famous session ace, and he
Do you have the URL?
Just go to Third Power, so it's 3RD, power.com, and you're going to see the first thing that's going to pop up is Tom Bukovac's Kemper profiles. He let us use his amplifiers, and we got his 68 Super Bass and his famous matchless amp, which was the third one ever made, and it is the best damn profiles you'll ever hear.
Yeah.
And they're affordable. You get I think it's close to 80 profiles for $39. So if you have one of these, it's a must-have. and he's never let anyone touch these amplifiers before, and we have them. They're for sale now. It's just only within days they became available.
Yeah.
And they are great. And, you know, so I use real amps, but in studio I will use Kempers, and it's probably the only profiles I will need now.
Nice.
And we must get you hooked up.
Indeed.
So, they sound amazing, so please go to 3rdpower.com and
There
look
it
at the package that we have there. And check that out, and go to my YouTube and my Instagram, and please subscribe and follow me, because I want to do what you're doing. But
Dude,
he's
come on, we're
teaching
gonna
me.
do
This
it.
is my mentor now. So yes, I will
And
be
you're
back
gonna-
to pick your brain.
And he'll put me out of business. And then
Nah,
I'll
I ain't
just-
gonna never have him. So
Bro, thank you. Thank you
I
so
love
much
it.
for being here, man.
Oh, look at this.
That's we got to do it. Friends, thank you so much for the kind donations and all that good stuff. Please check out Ford's stuff. He's a beast of a player. And like I said, the difference between where you're at and where he's at, there's a chasm, but it is a step-by-step process. He got there the same way. It's steps. That's all it is. So just understand it's all doable, but you're not going to be as good as he is in one day. It didn't take him that long. It took him many, many years, thousands and thousands of hours of playing. You get to do it quicker because it's literally showing you how to do this stuff. So
There's always somebody better. That's not what matters.
Yeah.
What
No.
matters is that you just find happiness
and whatever
enjoy
better
it.
means, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter. I think the most important thing is to close your eyes and think about the melodies. Like we talked about the birds.
Yeah.
And the diatonic thing. It's like, pay attention to the sounds around you. Don't worry that the guy next door is better, because that means nothing. Because you know what? There's always going to be somebody better than us.
Indeed.
Who cares?
Indeed.
What I care about is creating my own sound.
Yeah.
Think about simplicity. Think about notes, and just really put your heart into it, and don't look at it like there's a deadline to anything, because you know what? I'm doing this till I die. I don't care, because I love it that much. So
Yeah.
as far as I'm concerned, I'm not even halfway there. So I would say just play your guitar and enjoy life, because it's the best.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so
Yeah,
much
no
for
problem.
it. Appreciate it, bro. And friends, don't forget, Robert Baker is in the chat right now. We're going to drop a link to the interview video that I did with Robert. He was so kind to lend us his time. And we did a little Zoom call the other day, or a Skype call. You want to check this out. Another amazing guitarist, amazing teacher. He's in the chat now, but we're going to drop that link. Let's all head over there right now. I'm going to be in the chat. Robert's going to be in the chat. It's going to be a big party, pizza and pool party afterwards at my place, all right? All right, see you guys.
What?
Yeah.